National Speed. After Dark.
The overall fitment on the engine mounts that I made came out pretty good. The passenger side engine mount, I had to freehand that. I just didn't have the wherewithal to design that mount in CAD. That one was pretty straightforward. I knew all the angles coming off the side of the engine and where it had to land. For whatever reason, couldn't figure out this one. I couldn't triangulate all the positions on it with what I was working with. And I knew that I wanted it to be a tubular design anyway, so I got myself a tubing notcher and some 2-inch DOM tubing. The flange that goes on the side of the engine, that was obviously CAD design. That was pretty straightforward. And then the actual bottom of the halo right here, that's just laser cut too. That just kind of, those two items just kind of sped the process up, but it was passed it through the chop saw at like a 27-degree angle and then cut it with the tubing notcher and pretty much got it spot on the first shot and just added a gusset to it. I think it was like a 1-degree downward slope, which is a little bit less than stock. Typically manufacturers put it like 3 degrees just so that in a collision the engine and transmission can't break their way through the firewall. It's kind of like a deflection point. It'll just kind of push it under the car if it's already got some downward slope on it. But clearly there's no crash bar on the car, so if I get into a wreck, just fucked anyway. Unfortunately, the latch bar was a little bit wider than I thought. So you can see where I modified it to bring it forward a little bit further away from the engine. There's only like, I don't know, 2 business cards worth of space between it and the engine right now. I could move the engine a little bit further back, but I really don't want to because of the front axle angle. And it's probably about the same as the rear ones right now. The rears actually have a little bit of angle on them too, but they don't do any steering, so their chances of blowing up are a lot less. One of the bigger issues that I got to fight this morning is the oil pan not fitting. I'm gonna have to notch the subframe or get a tubular one. The only thing that's gonna suck most about that is the sway bar placement, because there's not really much I can do about moving it. The only thing I can do is drop it, and I don't know how far I'm gonna have to drop it until I'm done notching the subframe and actually get the oil pan in there. And so right here's our problem area next. And the sway bar used to be way up here. And I was really hoping that when I was looking at the oil pan that there was some room for me to also notch out the oil pan for sway bar clearance, but unfortunately the bottom of the pan is like right up against this pickup tube on the oil pump. So I think the only real solution, I don't want to delete the front sway bar. I'm not afraid of it, but I'd rather not if I can avoid it. The car's not going to be lowered any. If anything, I'm going to have to raise it up a little bit for some 26-inch tires. But I'm hoping to be, you know, I don't want to drop it more than 3/4 of an inch if I don't have to. We'll see what happens. just notched the subframe for more pan clearance. Now got the pan just bolted up to the adapter plate, which is threaded into the transmission too, just so I don't have to reinstall the engine, but it should all locate itself together pretty straightforward. And it looks like definitely took out way more than I needed to. Way more, but oh well. Should be all right though, because now I can actually get to the bolts on the bottom of the pan that go through the adapter plate. I think when I had it in last, it was pretty close to like half a degree down. So it's definitely going to have to get dropped a pretty significant amount. It's got to be at least an inch. Yeah, I mean, it's got way more clearance than it needs, but it's better than not having enough. Plus, I think if I had to take the pan off in the car, I probably could with the amount of extra cut that I put into it. But I might not keep the subframe, might go to a tubular one or get a late B7 one, we'll see. But I just want it to fit for now.
Next steps?
Hunt down some 1/4-inch steel to blaze in there, and probably fix the passenger side trans mount, make the shifter crossover linkage while I can still get to it with the engine out, or maybe take the trans down and modify all the linkage, and then send the motor or all the trans and engine mounts out for powder coating. And I think that's all I got for now.
Sweet. Final thoughts?
To try and blow all the steel dust out of my nose from making that cut.